welcome to another mini-sode of Primordial Threads. I'm one of your hosts, Hannah.
I'm Anna, and today we are talking about the moon on a
Yes.
nice moon day with the moon in Taurus.
We planned this so well.
We did.
We really
It's
did. She just anted. We love it. Yeah,
do
so we're
we right
doing
now? Generally, yes. Currently, no.
yeah, no. Taurus moons have been kind of rough lately, we were talking about. And
I
just
think
a
it's the
little
Uranus influence. It's shaking up all the
oh,
comfy stuff, It's like we
it
want to be
is.
comfy, and then Uranus is like, no.
Yeah, it's like every time Luna gets back to Taurus, it's like her cozy, like her best friend's house, and she's like coming in the back door, like, hello. And then there's like this asshole in the middle of the house, just like
I'm
just
thinking of the really shitty commercials where it's like the mayhem guy, and he just like comes in and fucks
mayhem.
shit up.
Literally. Oh my God. That's exactly how it is. And she's like, oh my God. And she just has to like go around all of the mess and she's like trying to clean up as like Uranus is just smashing shit and like
Yeah.
redecorating and be like, did you ask Venus?
Yeah, it's like she finally gets in for her bubble bath and then she just hears someone hanging up pictures because why? And there's just just like a banging.
Clunk,
Yeah.
clunk, clunk. She's like, fuck, can't meditate.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. So yeah,
How
we're
it
talking
feels.
about the moon today. And that kind of we already highlighted the moon's exaltation in Taurus, which both of us have Taurus moons, so we feel that very deeply.
Hmm.
But the moon rules and has domicile in Cancer, which is a cardinal water sign. Um, and we were talking the other day actually about a theme of Cancer and the moon feels like agency. And I think
Hmm.
that's a really cool one to start off with. Because while the moon is like it reflects, right? It's reflecting what the moon does is it reflects the sun's light. It follows a cycle of reflection where it's super bright and sometimes it is completely dark and there is no light of the sun to be seen. Um,
I also think absorption's a good one for the sun,
mm,
Because like it goes and picks up all of its little things throughout the cycle
mhm,
and then reflects them back as it
mhm.
has absorbed.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, and when we think about cardinal, like, Cancer being a cardinal sign, being like active, I was kind of coming at it from the lens of like, why would the moon not rule a mutable sign? Because it's like always changing. It's like moves the fastest. Like that feels super mutable to me. But then you kind of pointed out how it was more of like an initiation
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah, like the moon does what she wants and she's moving that fast because she wants to. And so
Mm-hmm.
there is like where Hannah brought in the agency part of it. Like that's kind of how I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking of it in my head. And like that's
Yeah.
why it would be the cardinal because, like the cycle is fixed. The moon is going to do what the moon wants
Mm-hmm.
no matter what else is going on. And like, yes, it's tied to the sun, but that doesn't necessarily change the moon cycle. Well, okay,
Yeah.
if we did take away the sun, yes,
It
but.
would, but I think what's interesting too is we have to factor in the moon's relationship with the earth itself.
Mhm.
And how it's like, that's the relationship that like actually matters in a way, in a weird way. Like,
Mhm.
yes, the sun is like shining light on the moon, and the moon is reflecting that light, and that we get things from the moon, like moonlight in the evening and full moons, new moons, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's this moon's relationship with the earth itself that creates the tide changes,
Mhm.
and we can see it moves through the sky at different times. It's something about just the choice of the relationship that it has with the earth
Mhm.
getting reflected by the sun. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I feel
Well, I
like
think it's the closest. So, like,
hmm
if you think about the whole idea of the planets having an influence on us, then obviously the moon would be one that we would feel
mm,
the closest just because it is in
it
distance.
is exactly. And the moon
So,
is the one that, as we go through our daily lives, like that, it changes signs every 2-3 days.
mhm.
So that's like the first thing that when I tell people who ask, like, I want to get into astrology, what should I look into? I'm like, just start learning about the moon, start
Mhm.
tracking the moon cycle, see if you feel different from day to day. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
because
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
And as I think I've gotten a little bit deeper into the astrological practicing and things, it really feels like the signification of the moon being tied to the body becomes more and more important because I feel it in my body whenever the moon changes signs, or if it's in a place that's not great for my chart and it's with my malefics and stuff, I just feel like shit.
Yes, that's actually exactly what I was about to say, is
Okay,
like
cool.
it comes back to the moon signifying the body.
Hmm.
And it really does. It has an effect on the body. In the chart, it kind of signifies like the things that you need to feel comfort, because it does these things. Like, yes, it reflects the light. It is a reflective, receptive kind of a entity, but it nurtures, it fosters, it tends.
Mhm.
Um
It's the divine yin. So it
mhm.
is that a little bit more passive than the yang, but I don't think that necessarily means that it doesn't do anything or that it doesn't have the agency.
Yeah, it's a reactive,
Mhm.
responsive.
Yes, that's
You
perfect.
know?
Yeah, there's still
Yeah.
action, but it's not initiating, it's more
Mhm.
following through.
Exactly. I think that reactive responsive thought is important, because that is what it does, and even the moon as an archetype, which we'll get into more deeply when we do our full archetypal episodes. Um, but it is the unconscious self. It is the part that is kind of taking in everything that's happening and formulating like how it feels about it, and then giving you that gut instinct for like, it's the instinct. It's not so much the reason, it's the
Mhm.
instinct. There's like a wildness about it in a way, where the sun feels a little bit more refined and reason and pattern. The moon feels a
Mhm.
little bit like, even though it's not unpredictable, like we can predict its cycles and changes, like seeing it change every day, it can be jarring. It feels like, whoa, it's like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot happening.
Yeah, and no, that feels kind of like the mind versus the body then as
Yes.
well. Where I know Mercury kind of gets lumped in with the brain and the intellect, but if you read the texts from Valens and things like that, they will talk about how the sun also signifies the mind.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
it does feel like, obviously the mind would be calculating and thinking and processing in
Mhm.
that way. And like you said, the body just reacts and it
Exactly.
has that instinctual fight flight kind of thing,
Yeah,
which is also interesting to think about because then it's like, oh, well, you can like turn your adrenaline on a dime, and that feels very changeable, like the moon.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yes, and I love that it brings in like, so we've talked in the last episode about the sun, about how the sun kind of embodies this masculine energy, whereas the moon is feminine, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be tied to gender. But I do love that, we're taught, because this is why I think I like exploring this, is because femininity in our society and our culture, what we've been taught, it's supposed to be quiet, it's supposed to be suppressed, it's supposed to be protected, it's supposed
Mhm.
to be very prim and proper and put together. But like the actual tenets of feminine energy is kind of wildness, it's chaos.
Yeah,
Like the
it's force of
masculine
nature.
creates, exactly, the masculine creates the container to hold and protect that wildness and allow for that wildness to be expressed. But
Hmm.
um and I think that, and if you look at, which I'm so excited for us to dive into, but like a lot of the mythology of different moon goddesses over the ages, like
Yeah.
they're not just like, oh, I come to you with the light of the moon. Nah, girl, like they're out there with moon sickles. Like they're like, let's get some shit going.
I'm gonna cut a bitch, which also feels
Literally.
very cardinal, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
it is that wild, unhinged, untamable kind of energy.
Yes. And there's an element of protection to it too. Like there's an
Hmm.
element of wanting
Yes.
to create safety and doing whatever it takes to do
Hmm.
that.
You
Um,
think about like the divine mother archetype, it
mm-hmm,
transcends all cultures. And typically, the divine mother is correlated with the moon sometimes.
mm-hmm.
And so that kind of has that element of protection as well, where you think
Yeah.
about like a mother is going to protect more than,
Yeah.
and I use that term loosely.
Yeah, and I mean that brings, you hear mama bear all the time, like because of the
Hmm.
fierceness of, a woman scorned, like a lot of these things that we
Yeah,
say,
hell hath no fury.
exactly. I think the moon, and you can see this in the Cancer archetype reflected as well. um
See what you did there.
but yeah, Cancer is a very protective, the crab with the shell, you said
Mhm.
earlier, like wanting to take everything that you love into that and be like, this is my home, this is my corner, do not touch me, I will fucking kill you.
Yep.
Go
That's where, okay, you're gonna hate this, so
ahead,
don't be mad at me.
go ahead.
But I think the lunar people can kind of be hoarders.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I feel like
God, yeah.
you guys just collect, and I say
I
this
don't even
as
want to
my
turn my
husband
camera
Marcella.
around. Like,
Okay.
I
I mean, you see
can't.
all of our crap back there. It's mostly Layden
At
just
least
has
it's
all these
organized.
knick-knacky things. I did that. I was like, I refuse for it not to be
The
organized.
cap rising said, hold on. Let me create this container for your lunar mess. The solar and the lunar. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yes.
that's why it's important to have the balance. You have the yang, the active, like let me organize, let me put this all together so that you can have your lunar whimsies. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I would agree with that. There's
Yep.
because you hear sentimental value, two things I would
Hmm.
ascribe to the moon: sentimentality and value. Like what
Oh
do you
yeah.
value? What do you um I think another thing that we talk about with the moon is emotional safety. Like it likes
Hmm.
to, like we've been talking about protection. The moon relates to our body, that instinctual fight or flight. And emotions are a thing, I think, that can be influenced by other planets, but I feel like the emotional experience, what it takes for someone to feel, maybe this is what it is as I'm talking through this, what it takes for someone to feel safe to be vulnerable.
Mm,
That's your
yeah,
moon sign.
that makes sense.
That's your
Yeah.
moon sign. Because in order for you, like I said, with the yin and yang, you have to have the proper container in order to be able to
Hmm.
have this viscous emotional experience.
Yeah. And you think
Yeah.
about it, like what I mentioned, I don't remember if it was in the solar or if it was just a minute ago, but like with therapy and things like that, like people have to
Mhm.
have the proper environment in order to be able to emote and release those emotions and feel it.
Yes.
And also just to tack on to that, your body, there's like a book that's called Your Body Keeps Score
I
or
was
something like
about
that.
to reference
Okay.
this
Yeah.
exact book. Yes.
It's like your emotions and your body are just inherently intertwined, and that feels
Mm-hmm.
very lunar. That,
Yes.
and I just feel like we haven't said anything about what the moon does, but we just are like going on a
Well,
moon archetype.
no, we've been talking about what it does because we've been
Okay.
saying it reflects, it
Okay.
protects, it nurtures, it tends, it does all of these things. It's wild, it's reactive, it's feeling, it
Hmm.
experience, it's very experiential. I feel like a lot of your physical experience of the world can come back to your moon and Venus signs.
Hmm.
Moon more so for how it just is. I would say the luminaries are kind of like your experience of the way things are. Like they kind of shape your
Yeah.
reality for what you believe, I guess is a good solar word, but believe can
Yeah.
also be tied to the intuition, into your gut, into the moon side of
Hmm.
things, how your physical experience shapes what you believe.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a moon Jupiter, moon sun thing.
Yeah. Okay. So then what do you feel like the moon does in the natal chart?
Ooh, the moon does a lot. The
It does
moon
do a lot. It's the unsung hero.
in my chart, it rules my sun. So, um, but the moon, I think definitely, like we were kind of saying, it shows what you need in order to feel safe, in order to feel cared for, in order to feel, um, dare I say loved? Maybe not loved. When I say loved, I mean it more in the sense of like valued.
Hmm. Yeah. Less in the sense of like commitment.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel like love is such a Saturnian thing in a weird way.
I would agree. It depends on the type of love you're talking about because in English we only have one word, but in Greek we have like six or nine or something.
That's fair. I guess just the way that I conceptualize love, which
Hmm.
surprise, surprise, I'm like, it's a choice.
It is. No, it absolutely is. Oh my God, we should absolutely do an episode on love. I am 100% here to do that.
Yes.
And the different planet. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But
I'm
I feel
here
like
for
the
it.
moon definitely ties into that. Um, because it's what you need to feel in order to feel loved,
Hmm.
like in order
Yeah,
to
yeah.
feel that value. So when you're looking at, I mean, this is a great synastry tie-in. When you're looking at two charts, you see that each other's moon signs. It's like, okay, that's almost like the love languages. Like, what do each of those people need in order to like feel seen, valued? Well, maybe not seen. That's a little bit more solar, but
Mhm.
valued, loved, cared for.
Mhm.
If being cared for,
Appreciated.
appreciated, yeah, the whole value thing I think comes back.
I think protected too. Like
Yeah.
what do you need to feel protected?
Yeah, it comes back to safety. I feel like the
Mhm.
moon and safety is a big thing. And that's why, cancers get the bad rap for being crybabies. But I think it's more that they are so emotionally in tune with what their body needs that
Mhm.
they are willing to do, number one, express whatever it is their body needs, and number two, protect whatever it is. And that can come across like really intensely. I'm a cancer, I'll be honest. Like when I go to bat for what I think is important for my safety or someone else's, I
Yeah.
vicious.
Vicious.
Vicious, calculated.
Hell hath no fury like Hannah protecting.
A mama bear. Yeah, people literally have called me Hannah Bear. Like,
I prefer pancakes, but I do think
I
Hannah Bear is
also
cute.
prefer pancakes, but it's more of like the mama bear like vibe. They're like, let's just put them
Mhm.
together. It's great. Like, okay.
Yeah. No, and I totally noticed that with Lane as well, having the Cancer Taurus energy.
Mm-hmm.
And he is so protective of things.
Yeah.
Like you do not mess with his family even slightly, or he's just
Yeah.
instantly like, what'd you say?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. And I mean, he and I are both Taurus risings with the Cancer in the third house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like the protection is in
Oh,
your
yeah.
immediate environment and it's
Mm-hmm.
on, his IC too. So he is just hyper protective of home and
Yeah.
the things that are like
That's
really
what
deep.
was my question, if it's on an IC. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
Yes, we have a plan for if anybody ever tries to mess
Anybody
with us.
breaks in.
It is
Oh my
that Lane is
gosh.
going to swing the longsword around while naked and scare them. And
And there's the Scorpio.
yes.
I'm
Okay, but tell me
dead.
though, if there is not a grown man who's like pretty muscular running down a hallway at you with a long sword, just full naked, just screaming,
I'd be out.
I
Out. I
would
don't want
turn
to mess with
around.
that.
I'd
I
be
don't want
like,
to
no,
mess with
you're
that.
too crazy for me, bro.
That is actually like that is very Cancer moon. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like that is like they will do like my little sister's a Cancer moon. And she will do weird shit to freak people out and get them off her back. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's a tactic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Lane wants people to think that he's just unhinged or something because he's like, then they won't fuck with me. And I'm
Oh my
like,
god.
like, but then they think that I'm with an unhinged person that I know you're not.
And Saturn is like, and that is simply not the truth.
That is simply just not the image
That
we want
is
to put out in the
not
world.
correct. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm dead. I love that.
It's funny. Okay.
But
Anyways.
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a great way to end our discussion on what the moon does. It runs naked down a hallway with a saber,
Mhm.
uh, a long
Protecting
sword,
what it
my bad.
loves.
Protecting what, yeah, absolutely. Not for nothing, but nakedness, I would say, is a moon thing. It's the
Mhm.
body.
Yeah, I
The
love
body.
being naked.
Yeah. Dude, literally, I'm not gonna lie, we were talking about that today. I'm like, fuck clothes, man, right? Our Taurus
Dude,
moons are like, nah, dude. I needed to be in an environment that's comfortable enough for me to be nude at all times.
but I want to be wrapped in like a furry blanket. You know what
And
I mean?
there's the Taurus.
Or like it feels comfy and cozy.
The best gift I ever received was a fuzzy robe. And what is all over it? Moons.
That's
Little
amazing.
half moons, yeah. So then I don't have to get dressed for work in the morning when I work from home. I can just wrap myself in my moon robe and it's just as good.
You saw it here, folks. That's what a first house moon does. Agree. You
Hey,
clothe yourself in the
don't tell my
moon.
boss.
I
Everything's
would
fine.
never. That's
It's
fine.
okay. You don't know her.
But yeah. So I guess to wrap up, like another example for like where moon placements are and kind of how that ties in is like I have my fifth house moon.
Mm,
And so like to be able to feel comforted and like I'm valued and things like that. Weirdly, it's like quality time.
yeah.
Where it's like, you think about the significations of the fifth house where it's like games and creation and
Mm,
all of that kind of stuff, and it feels very connective towards other people. And
Mm,
like, of course, there's sex there too, but that's not like
hmm.
the end all be all for protection
Yeah.
and stuff. But it is like that interacting with other people in a positive way does
Hmm.
make me feel good.
Yeah.
And I love playing games with people and hanging out.
Quality time feels very Taurus moon fifth house, whereas I would say like my Taurus moon in the first
First.
house is more words of affirmation.
Hmm. No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
words of
Yeah.
affirmation, acts of service sometimes,
Yep.
you know?
And
Yeah.
that feels
So
very lunar too. Acts of service feels lunar.
yeah. Oh my
Or
gosh, we should go through the sun, the not the sunset, the love
love languages.
languages and the planets. We're doing a love episode, folks. You heard it. You
Yes,
heard it here.
it's
It's been
happening.
decided.
It has to do. Okay.
Decided. Well, yeah, any
Are we
final?
complete?
I think so. That was a
I feel like
pretty
it's
comprehensive.
slam
Uh
bam. Thank you, ma'am.
Heyo. We will be doing a more extensive series on the archetypes of the moon, where different archetypes through mythologies and TV shows, and kind of really bringing the moon to
Mhm.
life as an energy. But we just wanted to give you guys a quick, what does the moon actually do before we
Mhm.
got into that.
And so
Um,
you can just hear our weird, unorganized thoughts because this
We
is
love to
fun.
see it. Let us know in the comments, or on Twitter, your thoughts on what the moon does. What does the moon
Mhm.
do in your chart? What do you notice it does? Um, and we'll
Yeah,
catch you for the next couple.
it sounds good. Okay,
Awesome. All
bye.
right, bye guys.